Two close friends invite the wife of one of their cousins on a trip to the beach. They plan to sleep with her. However, the journey will reveal more important things about life, and some secrets that can end their friendship will be discovered on the way. So today on Cinema Recapped, I'll show you, and your mother too. The film begins with Tenoch and his girlfriend in bed, since the next day she'll be going on a trip. They both promise each other they will not be unfaithful when they're apart. The girl's mother allows Tenoch to stay over, quite the opposite for his friend Julio, whose girlfriend will also go on the same trip, but he has to say goodbye in the morning while her parents are home. However, they manage to sneak out for a minute to bust a quickie before saying goodbye. Then we see the two friends taking their girlfriends to the airport, and although they tell them that they will miss them a lot, behind their backs they say they want them gone already. On their way to Tenoch's house, they discuss their future and the protests happening in the city. Tenoch says he wants to be a writer and that people have a right to protest, while Julio wants to study something that makes him a lot of money, and says that just as people have the right to protest, he has the right to tell them to shut up for causing so much traffic. While they're at Tenoch's house, we see the friends drinking and talking about a future party with a third friend, who starts smoking, but Tenoch does not want them to smoke inside the house, so they go out to the terrace. There, Tenoch's mother, who is involved in energy cults, auras, and esoteric practices, thinks that they are sad about their girlfriends and tells them to remember that even in the distance, they are still connected to them. While at the party that we're talking about beforehand, neither Tenoch or Julio manage to seduce any girls. The following week, they go to a pool of a club to which they have access on a day that is closed to the rest of the public due to Tenoch's father's influence. They start to race, in which Julio gains the upper hand, but Tenoch ends up winning by a long shot. And we see them having a good time and talking about their little friends in the shower, since they have a lot of confidence in each other. We see them at a wedding where Tenoch is fed up with having to act so courteously, while Julio, although he looks relaxed, he does not quite fit in with the audience of rich families. They both talk with Hano, a cousin of Tenoch who is also a writer, and with his wife, a Spanish woman who has no family other than her husband. The two friends invite her to a beach called La Boca del Cielo, while flirting with her, until she reminds them that she is married. Later we see this woman, named Luisa, at a lab collecting some results for an analysis while doing a magazine quiz, which reveals that she is a woman fearful of claiming her freedom, although she does not agree with that. While the two friends touch themselves next to each other, we see Luisa unable to sleep in her room. Then she receives a call from Hana, who is drunk and tells her that he cheated on her. Luisa hangs up on him and starts crying. The next morning, Tenoch receives a call from Luisa, who asks if the invitation to go to the beach still stands. The beach had been invented by the two friends, but even so, they do not back down and they take Luisa to this non-existent beach. Since Tenoch's father had punished him from using his car after having crashed it and not wanting to study, they decided to leave in Julio's car, which he shared with his sister, so they had to negotiate for it. Also, they asked the third friend to help them find a beach where they can be alone with Julia. The friend gives them some confusing indications, but since they have no other choice, they trust him. Then they pick up Julia from her apartment. Julio plays a joke on Tenoch at the gas station, and Julia tells him that she is a dentist, although she never practiced because she married Hano. Meanwhile, Julio and Tenoch tell her that they do not call each other friends, but charolastras, which is almost the same as friends, but the charolastras have a manifesto of various rules and statements. It is prohibited sleeping with the girlfriend of another charolastra, and the truth is cool but unreachable along with some other. Along the way, a voiceover which is present throughout the entire film tells us details of Tenoch and Julio's relationship regarding their social classes, such as Julio lighting matches in the bathroom of Tenoch's house and not leaving a bad smell, or Tenoch lifts the lid of the bathroom in Julio's house with 1 foot so he does not have to touch it. At night, they go to dinner at an inn where Julia confesses that her husband has been unfaithful many times throughout their marriage. While they say that they are faithful to their girlfriends, they do not believe that they're cheating on them now that they're traveling abroad. Later, they stay at a motel, she in one room and the two friends in another. The charolastras try to spy on her from the window, but only find her crying, so they leave instantly. They resume the trip to the beach the next day, talking about ex-partners and sexual experiences along the way. While we see many landscapes and emblematic images of Mexico, such as a quinceañera, some crosses on the side of the road, police officers stopping people for no reason, cows blocking the road, and policemen stopping humble artisans. Then their car breaks down and they are dragged by a tractor to a nearby town. The tractor driver does not accept any payment for the favor and also gives Julio his hat. They tour a little in this town and Luisa calls Hano and leaves him a goodbye message. Later in a motel, Tenoch finds Luisa crying and she seduces him. They do it, although Tenoch doesn't last long, and Julio can see them from the door. In some unexplainable way, Julio feels betrayed, like when he was a child and saw his mother in the arms of his godfather. Tenoch arrives very happy and challenges him to race in the hotel's pool, during which he lets him win. Julio gets angry and said that he doesn't have to let him win. In addition, he confesses that he had sex with his girlfriend, which leaves Tenoch with the same feeling of betrayal that Julio had. At night, although they do not tell Luisa about this infidelity, she detects tension between the charolastras and believes that it's her fault. So at night, she refuses to sleep with Tenoch. Then Tenoch explodes against Julio, who apologizes for what he did with his girlfriend. Still, Tenoch spends the entire night demanding details of how the infidelity happened, while Julio tells him everything in a way that seems less painful. The next day, they continue their journey in silence. Luisa sees some people by the road carrying a corpse and wonders how long people will miss her when she dies. But she stops thinking about it because she does not want to fill her head with thoughts of death. Then, as she believes she was to blame for the division between the charolastras, she goes to the back seat of the car to do it with Julio as well, so she can keep things perfectly balanced, as they should be. But Tenoch gets very angry and ends up confessing to Julio that he also slept with his girlfriend. Julio stops the car in the middle of the road and wants to fight Tenoch, who locks himself in the car. Luisa tries to calm Julio down, but he throws her aside and she gets angry, taking her suitcases and going to walk alone down the road. When they see her doing that, Tenoch agrees to apologize to Julio on his knees and get Luisa back, although they both agree that they will only finish the trip to the beach after they will no longer be friends. Luisa also agrees to return with them on the trip, although she puts various conditions on them so that they no longer fight. While we see more Mexican images, like people being detained by the police and women washing clothes in a river. Let's remember that the beach they were going to probably didn't even exist. Julio then takes a turn on the road without knowing exactly where it led, and he gets stuck. He decides to simply turn off the engine and go to sleep. They thought Luisa was asleep in the back seat, but what they didn't know is she was too afraid to sleep. But this fear had nothing to do with them or the unknown place they were in. The next day, they discovered that they had actually reached a beach, so they set up camp, and then a family of fishermen arrived who offered them to take them to a quieter beach so they could swim. On the beach, Luisa has a great time with the children, although she does not answer anything when the lady tells her that she would be a good mother. Meanwhile, the charolastras seem to regain their friendship as they play a friendly game of soccer. When they return to their camp, they find it full of pigs, so they decide to spend the night in a room offered by the fishermen. Then, while the charolastras play soccer, Luisa makes another call to Hano, in which she says goodbye to him and tells him that she did not leave home because of his infidelities, but for another reason that he will later find out. She also tells him that he was the love of her life and that she does not hold any grudge and expects him to do the same. At night, the charolastras and Luisa start drinking and laughs, while Luisa says that Mexico is a wonderful country where life is breathed everywhere. Then the friends start making fun of everything, even Tenoch's corrupted father. Later they confess that each one has slept with the other's girlfriends several times, but they confess it while laughing, saying that it makes them milk brothers. Later, Julio confesses to Tenoch that he has not only slept with his girlfriend but also with his mother when doing a spiritual cleansing for him. Tenoch gets serious at first, but they end up laughing still. At the same time, Luisa puts a song on the jukebox and starts dancing. The three of them are so drunk, they start dancing together. And when they go to their room, they have a threesome, and we even see that Tenoch and Julio kiss. The next morning, Luisa talks happy with the fishermen, who invite her to visit the surrounding bays, while Julio and Tenoch, after waking up and realizing what they did the night before, they start to vomit and they say they have to go home. As Luisa wants to stay and get to know the surroundings better, she decides not to go back with the charolastras. During their farewell, Luisa tells him that life is like foam, and that is why they have to live like the sea. Upon returning from their trip, which was very quiet, Julio and Tenoch distanced themselves. Then their girlfriends broke up with them when they returned from their trip abroad. A year later, they meet again by chance on the street, and although they're uncomfortable, they decide to have coffee together. Julio tells Tenoch everything that has happened with his other friends, Tenoch says that he will study economics and not something related to writing as he had planned, and also tells him that Luisa died of cancer shortly after what had happened on the beach, and he already knew that she was going to die when she agreed to go on the trip with them. Since Tenoch had a date with his girlfriend, he has to say goodbye to Julio. Julio insists on paying the bill. They will never see each other again. The end. If you liked the video, please leave a like and subscribe to continue receiving recaps of the best Mexican drama movies. My name is TC, and I'll see you in the next video. Goodbye.